Hello everybody, my name is Nemo, and you're watching Nemo Plays I'm the Scat Man. No, I'm Nemo. And you're watching me play Jewels of the Planeswalkers 2013, and this is an episode of Building the Decks. In this episode, Act of War, one of the new DLC decks. And yes indeed, I figured it out, and I'm gonna show you my deck build. So, Act of War deck build. Yes indeed, my mana curve looks pretty good. My number of cards is now 60. I used to run like 61. I used to not run any Terramorphic Expanses in this deck, and 61 cards. That was the preliminary deck build, I guess. Yeah, I went with way too few lands. I was like, this is gonna be an aggro deck, and it's Boros, and it's red and white. I want to make it as fast as possible. So I'm not gonna run any lands, and I'm even gonna run 61 cards, but no. Didn't work out that way. That was not the way the deck should be run, and this deck you just need land, and you need to make this a little bit of a slower deck than goblins, for sure at least. But also just a little bit slower deck than you maybe would like it to be. But in the end it does work out that way, so I guess, yeah, we'll get to those. I'd really like to just finish my story there, but there's some other cards we'll get to where I explain it a little bit more why the deck is a lot slower than I had it at first. So 3 Terramorphic Expanses is the right number for me. There's no mana ramp in this deck, so you have to run 3 of them at least. And I seem to just get all the mana I need at 3 and not too much mana, so I'm good there. And there's a few cards here with X in the mana cost, so you can you're not totally screwed if you have too much mana. So, anyways, Boros Recruit is obviously really good. First strike, 1/1, and you have a bunch of pump in this deck, so you can make him bigger than a 1/1. And then a 1-drop with first strike is just amazing when you can do that. So, yeah, Assault Strobe is not worth a card in my opinion. It doesn't do enough for me. Yes, it is kind of like pump for 1 mana, but like you don't need it on turn 1, and if you need it later, then it doesn't matter that much if it costs more than 1 mana. So I don't know why you would want just 1 mana. Okay, so Lightning Serpent is a great card to end the game with. Boros Guildmage, I'm only running 1 of them, and that's mainly because I just didn't have room for the other one. And if I was gonna make a cut, then I'd rather make the cut here, because drawing both of these is kind of useless, because you don't need 2 guys that can give stuff haste at first strike. So that's why I'm only running 1 of them. This was the easiest card to get rid of 1 of, and her abilities aren't essential to the deck working well, but they're pretty nice, and especially the first strike is relevant in some situations. But there's a better card that gives first strike as well, so yeah. Boros Swiftblade is an obvious inclusion, double strike, and you got a lot of pump in this deck. Lightning Helix is just an amazing removal spell. 2 Arms is, yes, it's a cantrip, but it's not good enough. I'm almost never gonna use this to untap all creatures I control, so I'm almost always just gonna use it to draw a card. In which case it's a waste of 2 mana. I could have just had my other card in the first place, so that's why I don't like it. Rise of the Hobgoblins is one of the most amazing cards in the deck, and yeah, this is the card I was talking about. You just need 1 mana to give all your dudes first strike rather than 2 mana with the Guildmage. So this is better than the Guildmage in my opinion. And yeah, this is also one of those cards that if you have a lot of mana, then it's not that bad, because you can pay a lot more for X and get a lot more Goblin tokens. And with all the pump in this deck, getting a bunch of tokens is good. Giving everything first strike means they can also block efficiently, so that's good. And yeah, it's just a really good card, all in all. Veteran Armorer, running all 4 of them because I feel that they're kind of essential. Not just because of the +0/+1, but also because they're 2-drops and they're dudes. And I think that the Veteran Armorer, like having 2 of the Veteran Armorers is great. Having 2 Boros Guildmages, not so good. So that's why I'd rather get rid of 1 of the Guildmages and just keep in all the Armorers instead. So yeah, that's my thought process there. And the more armors you have, really, the better it is, because it's gonna be more difficult for the opponent to deal with your creatures and take them out. If you have more armors out there, especially if they're green or red, and in some cases even black, because they have like stuff that does minus X, you know. And then if you have more toughness, they don't even kill you dudes. So Intimidation Bolt, just great removal. You can use it on your turn. Like the cream dream with this card is to use it on your opponent's turn, kill a creature, and prevent him from attacking you. You know. But it's also good as a removal for even if the opponent is double blocking you. Like the fact that it says other creatures can't attack this turn doesn't mean shit if you've already attacked or if you're in the combat phase. So you can just use this when they block or something like that. So yeah, don't think that just because it says that you can't use it on your turn. Just don't use it on your first main phase is all. Mentor of the Meek is an amazing card. Just wow, it's really good. Gives you a tremendous card advantage. Yeah, I mean it's exactly the same. When I first saw this card, I said, you know, this reminds me of the card in Celestial Light that has the, you know, draw card whenever you pay 1 if you gain a life, and this is indeed exactly the same and just as good in this deck, and you got 2 of them. So yeah, enjoy. They're really good. Aggravated, and it kind of helps out, like the fact that these guys are so good makes this deck better than it should be, for the fact that the deck doesn't really have any removal that can deal more than 3 damage. So yeah, but these guys can still save a game where you get stuck because of that. So that's why they're really good. But even if not, there's still at least 2/2s, you know. And even if you get really aggressive, still drawing cards with those is amazing. So Aggravated Assault, I don't need this because I don't need to untap. Like, this is not the kind of effect I need. The combat tricks I need are the kind of combat tricks that get rid of my opponent's creatures so I can attack them. Once I'm already attacking them, once my creatures are past their creatures are dead, or I can continually attack and their creatures can't profitably block me, that's when I'm winning the game. And that is when this card becomes useful. So it's a win more card, and I don't need that. Banalish Veteran is just not good enough for me. The fact that it's a 2/2 does trigger the Mentor of the Meek, so I guess that's why they included it. But that's just not good enough for me. Fire at Will is kind of bad because you have to kind of force the opponent into a situation where this actually works well for you. So you have to kind of work toward it, and it doesn't work with Bysandra, because Bysandra just completely blocks off your ability to ever cast a spell if Bysandra is on the battlefield, and that is just that is the final nail in the coffin for me on this card. I might have run 1 if that wasn't the case, but since that's the case and Bysandra is so good, I definitely don't want to run Fire at Will. So yeah, no on the Fire of Wills, and no on all of these Rally the Righteous. Indeed, none of the Rally the Righteous, and that means that I'm not running any 3-drop pump spell, aside from just Scourge of the Noblest, because it kind of does the same thing. But I mean, for the turn it comes in and you can attack for a lot. So but yeah, I mean, my pump comes at turn 4 earliest, and turn 5. So turn 4 and turn 5 is when I get my guys that make my other guys bigger, or my cards. You know what I'm trying to say. So turn 3 I don't do this at all, and the reason why, even though this is turn 3 and the other stuff is later on in the game, the reason why I don't want to run these is because it's got a number of just downsides that make this card kind of unplayable. For one, Radiance means that any card with that color gets untapped, and I'm sure that's great in Two-Headed Giant when you're playing this deck accompanied with Peacekeepers or Goblins. But if you're playing against Peacekeepers or Goblins, then this card absolutely wrecks you. And those are some of the strongest decks in the game. You don't want this card against Goblins, trust me, because you're just gonna cry. It wrecks you. I mean, even if you don't play it, that's one card you can't use. And against Goblins, you're gonna need all the cards you can use. So, do you really want to include a card that just wrecks you against the hardest deck to combat in the game? Of course you don't. Like, come on. that doesn't make sense to include this card there. You gotta include cards that cover up your weaknesses, and this makes one big glaring weakness an even bigger glaring weakness in your deck. So why would you include this? And then there's got 2 more problems aside from that. Like, it doesn't pump my toughness, so I don't even get to save my creatures unless I also have first strike, which granted is possible. There's 3 cards that give me first strike. I'm likely gonna have it, but it's still a weakness, and it means also that I can protect my guys against burn or prey upon or stuff like that. So, you know, I mean, aside from just the combat trickery that you can maybe help out with the first strike, it also means that you can save you guys from burn. So I'm going around in circles in my commentary. That means I gotta move on to the third problem I have with this card, and that is you have to target a creature. You have to target a creature, and that means that, like, if you're gonna attack the opponent, you're gonna trick them with this, right? You block their dudes with your 2/2s, you block their 4/4s, and you're ready to first strike all your 2/2s, and you play this on your dude, and then the opponent goes, you know what, I got a removal spell here, and that dude you just targeted, yeah, I'm gonna target it too with this removal spell before this resolves. None of you guys get the +2/+0, my guys all live, your guys all die, and you kind of tricked yourself there with the Rally the Righteous. So, I mean, that's just too many situations where this card screws you over rather than it screwing the opponent over. And I don't like cards that do that. I mean, sure, it was good like half the time, and half the time it was bad for me. And yes, it's pump on 3 mana, but that is exactly what I said. I had to just accept that this deck isn't gonna be as fast as I wanted it to be, and just kick all 4 of these out. And that's the way it's got to be. So it's a little bit of a slower deck than I wanted it to be, and that meant that I could gladly put in all 3 of these Terramorphic Expanses. And this deck doesn't like if you put in less than all 3 of these, then the deck did want to screw me over a lot anyway. So it kind of works out for me there, that I can actually get an excuse to put all 3 of them in there and, you know, not get screwed over. So Scourge of the Noblest, however, even though you don't have like all your creatures pump on turn 3, you still have at least Scourge of the Noblest, and if the opponent stepped out, then sometimes you can get in for a lot of damage with this card. And yeah, this is just such an amazing card. It kind of makes up for the fact that you don't have pump at 3, so that's good at least. And then of course you run all 4 of these Sky Knight Legionnaires because they're amazing. And then we get to the 4 drops. Breath of Fury is the same as Aggravated Assault. You don't really need to look at it further. It's weird, it's complicated, but in the end, it's a win more card. And you don't need it. Like, if you're already dealing the damage, then that means you're probably already winning the game anyway. And what you probably need is like a haste creature or something that'll do more than even Breath of Fury will do anyway. So, whatever. Breath of Life, however, is a good card. It's a useful card, but I only want to include one of them because I don't want to crowd my hand with too many high drop cards. But it's useful because it can get back, like, you know, Balefire Leash, best case scenario. Just saying something, like, it can get back a bigger creature for 5 mana, or something you're gonna cast it on a lot is to get back your Mentor of the Meek when you kill that, because Mentor of the Meek just wins games by his own. And yeah, it's ridiculous. So Balefire Leash, Mentor of the Meek, those are the best cards to get back with Breath of Life. And just because those cards are in this deck means that Breath of Life is already worth including. At least one of. Bright Flame is, yes, I'll admit, like, you can only start doing something with it at 5 mana. But it can do so much for you, and it's just worth sometimes including one of these kinds of cards that requires a lot of mana. Because then, at least if you get flooded with mana, maybe you have something to do. So it's always kind of worth including one of these kind of effects. But only if they're good, you know. And I gave this one a chance, and it is pretty good. Like, even if I play it at 5, sometimes I really get the opponent. Especially if they're playing, like, the opponent. I'm sorry. I have to keep reminding myself. Yeah, sometimes you really get them, especially if they're playing goblins. So, and I mean, sometimes you get the ultimate nuts not stop deck with the Bright Flame when you have like 12 lands out and you kill their whole side and whatever. That does happen with the Bright Flame, and it doesn't happen if you don't have it in there, you know? It's just saying. And like even if you don't have a billion lands, this card can be good. So I think it's worth its spot. Like I was running it, and pretty much every game I drew it, I was like, yeah, Bright Flame, awesome. Obviously, though, you don't want to include 2 of them, because that's just ridiculous. And then you get stuck on, you know, having too much high-cost cards in your hand. You don't want that. Faith's Feathers is, it's the only removal for big guys that have more than 3 toughness in this deck. So you gotta pretty much run it. Yeah, that's all I gotta say about it. It's good. Run it. Doesn't really fit the more aggro build, but then again, like I said, this isn't the incredibly aggro build, but it's still pretty good. Flamekin Zealot, yeah, it's a 2/2 after all is said and done, but come on, for the turn it comes into play, it does so much for you. Like, this is basically like, you know, Rally the Righteous on a stick. Pretty much does the same, because this guy comes in himself with the free haste, and if you drop another dude on the same turn, then you can really start cooking. So it's pretty good. And just the fact that he himself smashes for free as well means that the fact that they only get +1/+1 is kind of counteracted by that. And most of the time you're gonna attack for just the same as if you played Glory of Warfare that turn. Except the Glory of Warfare, of course, is gonna still be there next turn. But this guy is still gonna be at least a dude next turn. And this deck, as you can see, 59% creatures. Of course, I do have the Breath of Life, which can help me get another creature back. And I do have... looking for it. There it is. Rise of the Hobgoblins, which can get me a lot of creatures. And Mentors of the Meek, which can help me out as well. But 59% is a little bit low on the creature count. So it really helps that one of your pump spells basically is a creature in itself. And I mean, even if you have to play it, at least you've got you attack for free that turn and you got a dude out there. You know what? If you have absolutely nothing, I mean, at least you got something there. Whereas if you drop Glory of Warfare, that doesn't do anything if you don't also have a dude out there. Of course, I'm not saying that Flamekin Zealot is better than Glory of Warfare, because Glory of Warfare is an amazing card, but you got to see it in perspective. Like, this card can be really good, and it really does help out that it's a creature. Works like, that's just what you need in this deck. You need pump spells, but you also need more creatures because your creature count is a little bit low. Spikemare, however, is just not worth it because it comes down turn 4, doesn't have haste, whereas this stuff makes you attack for a lot on turn 4. This is the only removal for big creatures, and Breath of Life gets back your biggest guys. So in comparison, this card is not worth it. In comparison with the other 4 drops in there. And the same goes for Sunhome Enforcer. This deck doesn't even really need life gain, so I don't really know what that's all about. And then there's the 5 drops. All of these just either boost my guys up to deal more damage, or help me get past the opponents in some way. And boosting my guys up to deal more damage also helps me get past the opponents in some way. With Sandra, I know that you can argue that, hey, the fact that players can cast spells during combat is gonna set you back because this deck kinda likes to win with combat tricks. Well, then you haven't seen my deck build yet, did you? Because where are my combat tricks? Where are they? It's just the lightning helixes and maybe the intimidation bolt. Those are my combat tricks right now. I'm not running any of them anymore. And yeah, so Rally the Righteous is gone, and you know, for Fire at Will, which is really the main card why you wouldn't want to run Lysandra, is gone. And like, I would run Lysandra anyway, so I wouldn't run Fire at Will. But I guess if you really want to run Fire at Will, then you wouldn't run Lysandra. But that is the wrong choice to make. Lysandra is way more important than Fire at Will. But yeah, I guess. Anyways, even if you do run Rally the Righteous, then Lysandra is still really good though, because you can still just play Rally the Righteous on your main phase. And the reason why these combat tricks are what they are, because they help you get past the opponent's creatures. right? That's what you want to do with the combat tricks. Is get past the opponent's creatures, so you can start attacking. You know what? The center does that anyway, because target creature attacks this turn if able. Makes you get past the blockers, because they have to attack you with the blockers. So you don't really need the combat tricks anymore to get past the blockers. So then it doesn't really matter if you can't play this in combat. You can just still play it in main phase 1 and still get the extra damage in. So it doesn't really matter that much anymore. And it really wrecks the opponent though. Because you can just... Like if they got a pump spell, then they have to play it before they go into combat. And they can't like trick you there anymore. So it really helps you out. When you can just go, you know what, this guy attacks me, and if you got a trick, then you have to show it, and I can pay it, and I can know it's there before I block it. And if you don't play it, then I can just block it and be sure that you can't trick me. So yeah, I mean that's really just really powerful ability there. So all of these are really good. And do what you want. Same as the 4-drops, they pump your guys, help you get past the opponent's blockers, help you get in there to deal your damage. Lightwheel the Paladin doesn't do that and is bad because of that. But not only that, like, this guy is the worst mechanic ever. He's the first strike, I'm not even sure if that's relevant, but I guess because it's a 90 he has to have first strike. But aside from that, he's a 4/4 at 5 mana, that's kind of meh. Then if whenever he deals combat damage to a player, stuff happens, but there's no way to guarantee that he even deals combat damage to a player. Like, this guy wouldn't even be overpowered if he had flying, so whatever. Like, he wouldn't even be overpowered if he had flying and haste. He'd still be fine. But, yeah. Unfortunately, they had to make him pretty weak. And, like, even if he is able to get past their blockers or something, then, like, he doesn't have protection or shroud or hexproof or anything. And guess what? Black and red are the colors with the most removal in the game, so they can probably deal with him anyways. So it's kind of irrelevant there. Bull Sheridan is too late, don't want to run 6-drops. Like, yeah, that's pretty much what I can say to the rest of this. This guy isn't the most aggressive either. Like, he doesn't need the vigilance. In my opinion, he would have been better suited with trample and haste. But this one, like, maybe if you discard it, then it's good, you know, because you gain 1 life every turn. But aside from that, it's not aggressive enough for this deck. It's a cool looking card. I love the art on it though. I love this sword as well. And the shield. Yeah, I just love the art on it. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. It looks awesome, but it's just not aggressive enough and doesn't really do anything I'm looking for with this deck. So whatever. And this guy comes in, and a turn later he kills himself and deals 4 damage. Opponent. Hey, I'm learning. I just gotta now learn to just say it correctly in one go. But yeah, so he kills himself because 4 damage, he's got 4 toughness, whatever. And you can't save him with these armorers unless you've got all 4 of them down. Because otherwise he kills the armorers and then his toughness goes down and he dies anyways. So you need to have all 4 of these. Let me see. Yeah, you need to have all 4 armorers down, because otherwise the armorers die when you do it. So it's the only way you can save this guy from killing himself, is if you have all 4 of the armorers down. That's ridiculous. So, like 6 mana for a delayed 4 damage to everything without flying, and you don't even have only flyers in this deck, so it doesn't make any sense why that guy is there. Sunblast Angel is an amazing card, and if you want to run it, then I give you my blessing. Be my guest. This is a really good card. Personally, I think it's a little bit too late for this deck, and your creatures are more likely to be tapped than the opponents, because you do want to get in there, deal some damage. So I don't know, you gotta kind of trick the opponent and the opponent, and it doesn't always happen. And I also said it wrong once before that. So again, opponent. Anyways, it doesn't always work the way you want it to work, and the opponent isn't always going to be tricked. I gotta just find another word for it, because now I ruined the whole thing, you know. That's too much corrections for myself. I need to just say the enemy, the other dude. The guy on the other side of the table. Balefire Dragon. You know, I had him in the test. And I lived the dream with this one, getting rid of the other guy on the other side of the table's whole side when he was playing Exalted Darkness, and he had the guy out that makes me only able to attack with one dude. Normally, like with this deck, you'd be fucked against that because you don't have the removal to get rid of that dude, and like he just screws you over because your deck wants to attack with multiple dudes, so you can't get rid of it, and it screws over the entire deck mechanic. But luckily, I actually drew two lightning helixes in a row to deal with. First is 4-free dude that gives everyone an extra copy of Exalted, and then another flyer or an unblockable or whatever, and gain a bunch of life. And then I was able to drop Balefire Dragon and the next turn swing in with it, and he luckily didn't drop a flyer to block it either, and I took out his entire side, proceeded to pummel him with all my side because it could finally come in because his 1/5 artifact dude that prevented me from attacking with more than one creature was dead. Haha! And yeah, I lived the dream with it, but the card sucks. Stormherd, I don't need to even talk about that. That's just bad. Alright, and that's the deck build. And yeah, I got into a little bit more detail than I did in the preliminary build. But I feel that all is said with this deck, and the reason I was able to do it a little bit faster than normal is because I had some practice with this deck build because of that preliminary build stuff. So maybe I should do that more often, I don't know, it was a little bit of a test on my side. And also I'm really hyper and I'm speaking really fast, I don't know why I'm doing that. But it really helps me get the deck builds going faster. So yeah, anyways, that's a deck build. My name's been Nemo. My name's still gonna be Nemo in the next video, which is gonna be some gameplay of this deck. So stay tuned for that, you know. And see you guys next video. Peace.